Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the program This Week in America. It's been called the #1 supplement you've never heard of that you should be taking. Frequent guest on our show, Dr. Susan Smith-Jones, refers to it as the Great Protector. We're talking about astaxanthin, the nutrient that is so protective to algae cells that it enables them to live for over 40 years without food or water and in extreme temperatures. And it's so protective to salmon's muscle cells that it allows them to swim raging rivers for several days without rest. In the new book, Natural Astaxanthin, the supplement you can feel by Bob Capelli, you'll find out what it can do for human cells, learn about all of the clinically validated health benefits, which makes it a supplement you can feel. Bob has spent 30 years involved in natural healing and herbology. After graduating from Rutgers, he spent 4 years traveling and working in developing countries where he learned and developed a deep respect for the medicinal power of plants. He returned to the U.S. and has spent 27 years working in the natural supplement industry. He's the lead author of 5 books, dozens of articles for trade and consumer publications, and scientific papers for peer-reviewed technical journals. The past 16 years involved professionally with astaxanthin, focusing on educational consumers and the supplement industry on its health benefits. Over 200 radio and TV programs. Bob Capelli, author of Astaxanthin, Natural Astaxanthin, the supplement you can feel, with us on This Week in America, coming to us from Hawaii. Aloha, Bob. Welcome to the program.
Aloha, Rick. Thanks for having me on.
It is a pleasure. I got to ask you, first of all, who names these things anyway? I'm looking at all these Z's and A's, and it goes on forever, and I got it right maybe 2 out of 6 times, which is above my average. How are these? how are these named? Do they try to trick us?
Well, I mean, that's a scientific name. It's from this family of nutrients called carotenoids, and a lot of them have some crazy names. So there's some that are even worse than that one, but I realize it's very tough for most people to say. I think people get confused with that. There's an X right in the middle of it that doesn't look like it should be there. So.
Well, yeah, because I'm saying it with a Z and there's an X there, but so much on the host inability to pronounce it correctly. Let's talk about exactly what it is. Astaxanthin. What is it? And then we'll talk about what many people, including Dr. Susan Smith-Jones, who introduced us, and I thank her so much for that, have had great health benefits and you have as well. What is it? And then we'll use you as a case example, what it's done for you.
Yeah, so first of all, you are saying it perfectly. Even though there's that crazy X in the middle of it, the X is pronounced as a Z, so it's astaxanthin. That's perfect. And astaxanthin, like I mentioned earlier, it's from this family of nutrients called carotenoids, and probably most of your listeners have heard of some of them, like beta-carotene, I think is probably the most famous carotenoid.
Sure.
Then there's lutein and lycopene, and there's several, but astaxanthin is unique. It's different from these other, I'd say, cousins, in that it's much more powerful as an anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. And so it has lots of different, because of those 2 basic building blocks of preventing inflammation and preventing oxidation in our bodies, that generates a lot of tangible, what I call feelable health benefits. And so if you want to hear, like, for example, how I got involved, would you like to hear how I first got involved with this?
Yes, because this really is interesting, the way it really turned your life around, didn't it?
Yeah, it sure did. Let's put it this way. I was in my, late 30s or very early 40s, and I've always loved to play sports. My favorite sport is basketball. And I was finding that I just couldn't even move the next morning after playing basketball, mostly some joint problems in the knees, also just muscle soreness. And, so I was getting to a point where, I was playing twice a week, and it would take me 2-3 days to recover just to be able to play the next time. And especially the morning right after playing, I could barely walk. My wife was making fun of me and saying I walked like the Frankenstein monster. So it was really, I was kind of seeing the writing on the wall that my basketball career was over. And then I started taking astaxanthin when it first hit the market. This is back in 2001. And it was first coming on the market as the world's most powerful antioxidant. And so that was really most of what was known about it at that point. And I just started taking it because I was already in the supplement industry for, about 10, 12 years at that point. and I knew how important combating oxidation is. So I figured, well, if I'm going to take one antioxidant, why not take the world's most powerful one? And what I found was within a month of taking it, my joint problems, my muscle soreness, this feeling in the morning where I couldn't even barely get out of bed and walk was gone. So it absolutely helped me, cure my physical issues. And now I'm 58 years old. It's 17 years later. I'm playing basketball still 2 and sometimes 3 times a week with no problems whatsoever.
That's amazing. And you've said as well that you were able to cut back on other supplements. So this really was able to do the job that a number of supplements were doing.
Yeah, that's accurate. Now, I do want to clarify, I still take a few other supplements, and they're mostly geared towards heart, towards
Right.
cardiovascular health, because I just feel, my father died very early of a heart attack, and so, with that history of heart disease in the family, I just want a little extra protection. I also still take another algae, this astaxanthin we make is from algae, and I take another algae-based supplement called spirulina that I think is very beneficial, but really I used to take many, and now I'm down to just a small handful of supplements that I really feel and know from the scientific research that they work.
Bob Capelli, our guest on This Week in America, he's the author of the book Natural Astaxanthin. Took a little while, but I got it out correctly. His website is algaehealthsciences.com. We've got the correct spelling. We've got the website information, all of that at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You do an excellent job in the book of breaking it down so we can understand exactly what you're talking about. And you do an excellent job of talking to some of the top research and doctors in the world to get their input. So often we hear something and there's really no validation from people that we would hope would endorse it. These are people that are talking about it that really are top people in their separate professions. Talk about that, because this really is something that's receiving a lot of publicity. And we'll talk about some of the benefits here in a second. But a lot of experts say this is the real deal.
Yeah, this, I've written other pieces on astaxanthin. I actually had 2 books before on astaxanthin, one in 2006 and one in 2012. And this one here, in the first 2, I was putting in consumer testimonials, because I think it's, the books are really mostly based on scientific research, clinical evidence. However, I think it's also important for people to really understand, well, what's it going to actually do for me and my bodies, to hear what consumers that are using the product actually say about it in their own words. Now, in this book, instead of putting testimonials from consumers, I have it's a long chapter, and it's all from what I would call opinion leaders, talking about astaxanthin in their own words. And the list is pretty impressive. I mean, it's been on the Dr. Oz show. It's been on the Oprah Winfrey show. Dr. Nicholas Paracone, who's one of the most famous dermatologists in the world, talks about its skin health benefits. Dr. Joseph Mercola, who's one of the most widely followed doctors on the internet, he talks about it extensively. Mike Adams, the health ranger, Suzy Cohen, Susan Smith-Jones, your friend who's always on your show. I mean, one after the other, these people are talking about. A lot of them talk about just they're more scientifically situated. So they talk really more about the research, but a lot of them are actually, just like I just talked about, they're saying what it did for them themselves and how they can feel the benefits of it.
When you talk about joint, muscle, tendon pain, you've got some interesting results in the book. 80% plus experienced less pain, 80% plus reported positive results, 75% better than over-counter, they said, and 64% better than prescription anti-inflammatories. This really works. Those are amazing success stories.
Yeah, that's true, and that was based on a consumer survey.
Yes.
And I should just clarify one tiny detail, is that when comparing to, say, prescription and over-the-counter anti-inflammatories, the way that the question was worded in the consumer survey was, do you feel like this works the same or better? So it's not saying that it was better necessarily 100%, but like at least equal to or better than. And like you said, Rick, those are some pretty high percentages. So, Now, the thing that I always try to qualify when I educate people about astaxanthin is that it doesn't work as fast as some of these other products that you'll get in a drugstore. So if you go down to the drugstore and you buy, an over-the-counter, say, an NSAID, a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, a lot of them will work the same day, like right after you take them, within an hour or something like that. If you go to a doctor's office and get a prescription for an anti-inflammatory, something like Celebrex, or the one that was taken off the market that was pretty famous was Vioxx, those also will work very quickly. But the huge point of differentiation, although astaxanthin will take much longer to work, it usually takes 2 to 4 to even sometimes 6 or more weeks to really start working well, it has no side effects or contraindications. And when you look at some of these drugstore varieties of anti-inflammatories, almost all of them have very, very serious side effects, and some of them actually, the Vioxx was taken off the market because it was actually killing people from heart disease. So, the way I put it is, do you want something that works fast and might kill you, or is probably going to have some side effects that'll hurt you? Or are you willing to wait for about a month for something that's going to work just about as well, but has no side effects?
In the book, you talk extensively about the Healthy 10, the 10 clinically validated health benefits of natural astaxanthin. Talk about those. Why would I take this, and what are the benefits?
So that's I'm glad you brought that up, Rick, because to me, no matter what a consumer says when they take something, there can be placebo effects. There can be people sometimes just imagine things. I mean, who knows? And so I never like to talk about anything as being clinically validated unless there are at least a minimum of 2 human clinical studies demonstrating that there's some health benefit. So in that section of the book that I call the Healthy 10, there are 10 different areas of health benefits that have all, actually, in the case of astaxanthin, a minimum of 3 human clinical studies, and some of them have dozens of human clinical studies. And it's really a diverse group of benefits, which, sometimes people, it starts to sound a little bit like a snake oil, because it's like, well, how can one pill really help you, in so many different ways? But what I try to make people understand that it's all about cellular protection. So astaxanthin is really the ultimate cell protector that, our cells are barraged with just this incredible array of different things that can harm them. Oxidation is probably the most famous, so there's all kinds of free radicals, singlet oxygen ions, all kinds of things that are just, thousands and millions and billions of times a day are just hitting our cells. Yes. And potentially harming them. Inflammation is the secondary one. That's also something that's very detrimental to our health, is this ongoing, persistent, silent inflammation. And it's amazing, but when I started in this business back in the, around 2002, 1990s when I started astaxanthin in 2002, but I started in the supplement business in about 1990. And people were all talking about really oxidation as being the main thing you want to prevent. Now, you still should prevent oxidation, but it's sort of flipped a little bit now, and a lot of the experts are talking almost more about inflammation as compared to oxidation as the thing to prevent. Well, they're closely related. I call them the evil twins, because usually where you find oxidation, you also find inflammation. And they're really they're both these things are barraging our cells. And so astaxanthin, being this incredible, strong antioxidant that is also what I call the world's highest quality antioxidant, which we can talk about later as well if you like, and being a broad spectrum anti-inflammatory, where it's not just targeting. In fact, going back to Rick, when I talked about how the drugstore anti-inflammatories usually have side effects, that's because most of them target one inflammatory marker in an intense, profound way that almost wipes it out completely. So, a lot of them are COX-2 inhibitors. So the COX-2 enzyme is something that creates inflammation in our bodies, and it can cause a lot of pain. And so if you target that, it's going to help to reduce your pain. However, if you completely wipe it out, it can throw your whole system out of whack, out of balance, and hence you get side effects. Now, what astaxanthin does, it does target the COX-2 enzyme, but in a gentle and more subtle way, but at the same time, it targets 7 other inflammatory markers. So in total, 8 different inflammatory markers in a gentle way, and so again, it takes longer to work because of that, but no side effects.
We're talking about natural astaxanthin. Geez, I was doing well. And let me spell it for you. It's ASTAXANTHIN. You'll get information at Bob's website, algaehealthsciences.com. Our website you can link on, thisweekinamerica.us. Time is going by so quickly on the program. Let's talk about dosage, bioavailability, safety, other vital information so people get some idea exactly what we're talking about here.
Sure, absolutely. Just going back to the Healthy 10, or the 10 clinically validated health benefits of astaxanthin. So it's important that people know what dosage to use for these benefits. And there's a big range. A little bit of astaxanthin goes a long way. So even as low as 2 milligrams per day is going to have some benefits. But for other areas of health concerns, you have to get up to 12 milligrams or even up to 16 milligrams to have the health benefit. So I think probably one of the best things we could do in our short time, Rick, is to kind of look at each of the health benefits and kind of give a rough idea of how much people should be taking if that's like their main concern.
Sure.
So for the 2 milligram dose is really for 2 things, and that's just as an antioxidant and also as an immune system modulator. So that's actually going back to my own personal testimonial. The benefit that I found very quickly from astaxanthin was this joint health benefits and reducing pain and swelling and increasing mobility. My other personal testimonial is that, and people sometimes don't almost believe this, but literally I've gone 17 years since I first started using astaxanthin without getting a cold or flu even once.
That's amazing.
So it's unbelievable. It really, and I fly all over the world. My main job is just educating about this for the company I work for. So I'm like literally doing 150,000 miles a year, sitting in those incubators of germs.
Oh, yes.
Airplanes, sitting next to people coughing. I never get sick. So, for immunity, just 2 milligrams a day does a very, very smack up good job. Now, moving to like I think the most common dosage in the world is 4 milligrams. And that covers a lot more ground. That covers things like eye health, cardiovascular support. It helps improve from the inside out, taking it internally, it helps improve your skin appearance and your skin health. That helps with, at that low dosage, some people get some good joint health benefits. Anti-aging helps for athletes, for endurance, for muscle recovery, for a host of, there's actually 12 different benefits for athletes that have been all documented in clinical studies. And that rounds out really the 4 milligram dosage. Now, when you're getting up to like 6 to 12 milligrams, which is usually the higher dosages taken by most people, that's more for like a hardcore endurance athletes, for brain health. The research has always been 6 to 12 milligrams and showing a host of benefits, especially for people as they age. So you got to get to the higher strengths for that. And then there's one sort of outlier, and this is a weird benefit, but believe it or not, if you take this product, if you're a man who's having trouble having a baby with your partner, and it's due to male infertility, if you take 16 milligrams a day of astaxanthin, there's been 3 different human clinical studies showing that can help improve male fertility. In fact, in the real landmark study, they had these guys that couldn't get their wives pregnant for years, and after taking astaxanthin for 3 months, half of them got their wives pregnant.
Wow.
So it was a fantastic result without going through all these fertility treatments
Yes.
and such.
It's an amazing story, and unfortunately, time goes by way too quickly. Hope to have Bob back on the program. Natural Astaxanthin is the name of the book, the supplement you can feel. The author is Bob Capelli. Information at Bob's website, algaehealthsciences.com. You'll find a direct link at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Bob, it's a pleasure having you on the program. A lot of great information there. I love the passion and the honesty in talking about the product and what it's done for you. And the job is educating the public. You do that in such a dramatic fashion, and the book is just another example of how you're getting the word out there. Thank you so much for being with us on the program.
Hey, Rick, it was a great pleasure. Thank you.
Looking forward to having Bob back on the show. Natural Astaxanthin is the name of the book, the supplement you can feel. Bob Capelli, our guest on This Week in America. Information available at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. And we're back on today's program right after these messages.